Try this matchup. Low prices and faster checkout. You can count on it at Fry's.
Welcome to the Arizona Wildcats Video Extra, brought to you by Fry's Food Stores. I am Star Sports Editor Ryan Finley, here with Daniel Burke. Daniel, we've talked a lot about Arizona coming out of spring ball, but the rest of their Pac-12 counterparts are all now done. Looking around the league, what did you see in spring, and how does this league shape up heading into the fall?
The team that intrigues me the most, and the team that I was reading up on most, it felt like, was UCLA.
Mm-hmm.
I think that UCLA is poised to have a really big year, and not just because of Brett Hundley. I mean, certainly it helps to have a quarterback like that. You know, he's going to be his third year in the system with Jim Mora, and is legitimately going to be a Heisman contender. But they just have talent everywhere, and it starts with Miles Jack, and they have talent on both sides of the ball. And I think that program's ready to really take that next step. And you know, people talk about how loaded the Pac-12 South's going to be next year, but I'm not sure it is. I'm not sure that it is. I think Arizona State's going to take a step back. You don't know what to expect from Arizona until you know what's going to happen at quarterback and running back. Colorado and Utah are Colorado and Utah. And then USC, I'm not sure you know what to expect in Sark's first year. But UCLA is the team that I think can really have a successful year, and I think that they're poised to do that. And then and up north, I think it's the same. I feel the same way about Oregon. I think with Mariota back, which I just did not see happening. I think they're poised to have a big year, and I think Helfrich learned some things in his first year. I think that he's going to be a little more comfortable, and I think that they're going to have a big year. So I mean, I don't know. I go into the year thinking UCLA and Oregon are the two heavy favorites. Some will say, well, what about Stanford? What about USC? And I think that's fair. But I like both of those teams, and I think they both have had productive springs. And then again, I mean, we talked about this with Arizona. I think the biggest thing was that you didn't hear about any catastrophic injuries on any teams, and that's so what you want. You don't want these teams, running into major injuries like Arizona did last year with Austin Hill. You want everyone to get out of healthy, and for the most part, most teams did that.
This is the Arizona Wildcats Video Extra, brought to you by Fry's Food Stores. Ryan Finley here with Daniel Burke. Daniel, two big coaching changes in the Pac-12 this offseason. Steve Sarkisian goes from Washington to USC, where he had served as quarterbacks coach under Pete Carroll. Washington moves quickly and replaces him with Chris Peterson from Boise State. Are both of those programs better off now than they were a year ago, or not?
No, I think that's a great question. I think yes. I think they are. Let's start with Washington. First of all, their spring up there intrigued me too, because Chris Peterson kind of came in with his reputation of being a quiet guy with not a lot of personality. But he was hilarious this spring, and if you watch some of his interviews and read some of the articles that they did up there, I mean, he embraced it, and and he had some fun with the team, and he almost had a little Rich Rod in him, which I didn't know that he had, and I think that he brought some excitement to. Anytime you can hire a guy who's 92-12 career, I mean, you take it.
Right.
So I think they probably are a little better off. He's recruited that area before. He brought most of his coaching staff with him, so there's already, just like Rich Rod did, so there's already that, chemistry within that. So I think that they are in a good shape. And then I personally think I like the Steve Sarkisian hire. I know a lot of people didn't, but I did, and I think that he is going to bring some stability to USC. I mean, he can recruit that area. He can recruit Southern California, and I think there's something to be said for having been at USC before, knowing what it takes. And then, people say, well, he didn't do enough at Washington. Well, people forget that they were 1-11 the year before he took over. That was a bad football team. They were pretty much where, Cal is now. If Sonny Dykes in 5 years has that team going 8-4 and playing in bowl games, people are going to say, oh, yeah, pretty good job. So I think Sarkisian's a good coach. I like what he did with his coaching staff. I really like what he did with his coaching staff, bringing Wilcox down, keeping Clay Helton and T. Martin on staff. So I do think both of those programs are in better shape than they were, and I think that they're both, eventually heading in the right direction. And Sarkisian right now is killing it recruiting-wise.
One of the things that's ironic to me is I think you could make the argument, Daniel, that Washington improved its situation by getting rid of Steve Sarkisian. And Steve Sarkisian went to USC.
Right. It's crazy to say that, but no, I think you're right. And I think that both parties are probably happy with it. And when you lose a coach, you go out and you pinpoint who your number one guy is. And what do you think? 90% of the time you don't get that number one guy. Washington got that number one guy. Chris Peterson's the guy they wanted. Tons of schools have tried to come after him in recent years. He said no. He says yes to Washington, and it works out well for them. But as we've seen lately in the college basketball world, very rarely do you get the number one guy that you want, and then you end up having to settle and sell it as, oh, it's a win for the program. But Washington got their guy, and I think they're very happy with it.
Sure. One more question before we let you go. Daniel, is this a make or break year for anybody coaching-wise in the league? It seems to me like there are a couple of programs that might be itching to make a change if things don't work out well.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a make or break year for anyone. I mean, I don't think Colorado gets rid of McIntyre yet, obviously, and I think Sonny Dykes maybe a make or break year, but probably not. Your boy Mike Riley's not going anywhere at Oregon State.
Love him.
Yeah. If Oregon struggled again, which I don't think they will after I just sung their praises, but I think Helfrich would draw some criticism, but it's too early there.
Let me spring a name on you though.
Okay.
Kyle Whittingham.
Yeah, I thought about that, but I don't think so. I don't think it's make or break. I don't think people understand how difficult that jump is to go from the Mountain West Conference to the Pac-12. That's brutally tough. You're going from playing San Diego State to playing USC and UCLA at the Coliseum and the Rose Bowl. It's just a different deal. I think they're heading in the right direction. And you're starting to see in recruiting that they're starting to get guys that were considering Arizona, that were considering Arizona State, whereas in the first couple of years, I think they were getting guys, that were considering other Mountain West schools. So the recruiting's getting better, and I don't know if it's make or break year, but he needs to win some games.
To me, the school to watch going forward is Colorado.
Yeah.
This is a school with a great football history, a pretty good coach, Mike McIntyre. And if you look at it, Daniel, who wouldn't want to go to school in Boulder, Colorado, play Folsom Field? I mean, I think it is a sleeping giant. As much as we talk about Arizona and ASU being one, I think Colorado is poised for something big.
Well, I agree with you. I will say this, after going there last year to cover a game, they desperately need facilities upgrades like Arizona got. They have no football facility right now. Their stadium is old and run down. Sometimes they practice at a high school field, I think. They don't have the facilities at other schools, and you're seeing even UCLA has to quickly get up this building that they're getting up. So if Colorado can address that the way that Arizona did with the Lowell Stevens football facility, I totally agree with you, because they were a power for a reason, and I think McIntyre's a really sharp guy. Offensive coordinator Brian Lindgren's a young guy who's really sharp and had a ton of success with McIntyre at San Jose State. So, yeah, that's a program that in a couple years I think could head in the right direction. But they need facilities.
Speaking of facilities upgrades, by the next time we check in with you guys, the sports department will have moved right behind us here. So where you see those things will now be all sports. So a couple things to keep an eye out for. Daniel Burke's extensive bobblehead collection.
Kyle Blanks and Everett Cabrera.
Yeah, the number of big sodas on my desk, it will be right there. We love caffeine in the sports department. So further proof, Daniel Burke, that a facilities upgrade is good for just about everybody.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. For Daniel Burke, I'm Ryan Finley. This is the Arizona Wildcats Video Extra brought to you by Fry's Food Stores. We'll see you later this week.